Ay, 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 ay.
How did Dkayed and I meet? We met at our Yu-Gi-Oh locals. We attended the same locals for like months, but we never spoke to one another. And I thought he was old. Like, we were both 15 or 16, and I thought he was like 20 something. Probably just because he was like 6 foot whatever, and I was tiny as hell. So I thought he was like older. And we never really spoke until we ended up at a regional together. And I've told the story so many times, but I'll tell it again because I love it. So it was round 6, and somehow but him, we were both undefeated in round 6 of this regional. And we ended up getting paired together. You know, we don't really know each other, so we were just existing in the same world. So we played, you know, I was doing my typical, I was pretty much the same back then. I was trying to like make jokes and, you know, be funny, and damn, the man was not having it, dude. He like didn't speak to me at all. His only words were like, enter main phase, activate mystical space typhoon, summon mechanical chaser in attack position, enter battle phase, response, no, declare attack, response, no, damage step, limiter removal, damage step, limiter removal. Those were his words. But somehow, as fate would have it, I won our match, somehow. And this was 15 years ago, and it was not owned by Konami, it was owned by Upper Deck, so you can't report us, but I could not go to nationals that year. Qualifying for nationals back then was like an impossible feat. It was like only top 4 of the tournament could go. So I was set to top 8, and he either wasn't, or, you know, because back then you needed to be like undefeated to X1 to like even top. And someone else from our store came along, and he was like, "Oh, Gianna, you can't go to nationals, right?" I'm like, "No, I can't. My family is going on vacation, and I have to go." Oh, God, first world problems. And he was like, "Well, you know, he can go to nationals. Like, why don't you just give him the win?" And I was like, "Oh, well," I was such a bitch too. I was like, because back then you got like good prizes. I was like, "Well, you know, I want some of your prize support. I'm not gonna give it to you for nothing." You got boxes, like physical boxes, like big, like full boxes of cards. So he's like, "All right, I'll split one of the boxes with you if you give me the win." And I was like, "Okay." So I went up to the counter, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I accidentally put that I won because I'm just a little 15-year-old girl, and I barely even play Yu-Gi-Oh! I summoned a Dark Magician, and I don't even know. I just clicked that I won by accident, and he was so nice that he didn't correct me. Can you please change it, Mr. Judge Man?" And the judge was like, "Okay, sure." And so he changed it, and you know, I gave Rob the win, and he ended up like winning. Like, he is so good at that game. I don't know how I won. And yeah, he went on to like win, so like I got half of his boxes. I don't think I even pulled anything, but anyways, after that moment, like, I was no longer afraid of him because I feel like we had talked, you know? And his little brother, his 2 little brothers at the time also went to our store, and I was more friendly with them. So I remember, the only thing I remember, this was so long ago, you guys, this was 16 years ago. I remember that the next week at our store, I was waiting for him to like come to the locals because I wanted to start like small talk. I was gonna ask him like, "Hey, what did you get from your boxes?" You know? But he was late. So I was like distraught. I was like, "Is he not coming?" And I was like talking to the tournament organizer. I'm like, "Oh, you know, they're not here yet. You know, do you think they're gonna come?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll call his brother." And he called his brother, and he's like, "Oh, are you guys coming today?" They're like, "Yeah, we're late." So like we entered them into the tournament early and then he ended up coming. And then when he came, I was like, hey, what'd you pull from your Yu-Gi-Oh boxes? Did you get a Dark Magician of Chaos? And thus began my long courtship of Dkayed that took way longer than it should have. But to be honest, he was out of my league back then. Boy, did we have a glow up because I became worthy. What a great story. Dkayed is an only child? No, he has 2 brothers. He's the oldest though. Is that how I sounded back then? It absolutely is. Oh boy. Well, like, okay, here's the thing. Okay, keep in mind, we're 15, okay? 15. I would court him by stealing his shit. I would like, it was like typical middle school shit, all right? I would like take cards from his extra deck while he was playing. I would take his deck box out of his backpack while he was standing around. He used to wear a hat a lot. I used to take his hat like straight up off his head because like, okay, listen, I know there's not many females in the chat, all right? I know you're probably not 15 anymore, but if you steal their shit, they have to pay attention to you. They can't ignore you after that, all right? You have something of theirs. They have to come and get it. You see what I did there? You see how I worked that out, all right? That's how it worked. He had no choice. You know, your decks, your Yu-Gi-Oh decks are like $500, all right? You take that deck box, I hold your life in my hands. I hold your very soul in the palm of my hand. You will pay attention to me or you will die. It was tough. It was tough, okay? So then, you wanna know how I sealed the deal, right? Because this was months. This was months of chasing this man, all right? My friend was having a party. He called it like his own little convention. It was at his house, and it was like a nerd party where we fought with foam swords, and there was anime playing in every room, and he was like kind of rich, so he had like full arcade machines in his house, all right? So I invited him to this, I called it a party. I didn't want him to know it was like a nerd convention, like a homemade nerd convention. You know, and Dkayed liked anime too, but he seemed cooler than me. So I had to, you know, had to be like, hey, you want to go to a party with me? And he was like, I guess. So he came to this party and I'm like, surprise, it's nerd shit. So it was like everybody got to sleep over too. Is my camera blurry? We all slept over too in like piles. So it's like you have these, it's like nerds everywhere. And everyone's like sleeping in sleeping bags on the floor. Everyone's sleeping in like sleeping bags on the floor. So Dkayed and I technically slept together on the floor that night together. And all I remember is that Monty Python was playing in the background and I had never seen it before. So we were watching Monty Python. I think it's like 4 in the morning or something crazy. And I was like laying there and looking at him and I was like, are you gonna ask me to be your girlfriend or not? Like, are you gonna ask me out? And he was like, yeah, no, I am. I was like, all right, go. And he was like, you wanna go out with me? And I was like, yes. And that's it, that's the whole story. That's it. That's how I sealed the deal. You know, sometimes, ladies, if you're out there, I know you exist, get what you want, bitch. All right? Don't wait around for no man. All right? You go and you take what you want, bitch. And then from there, I don't know, Dkayed and I got together and we never parted. I shit you not, it's a true story, all right? Fact is stranger than fiction.